Mully Haugh, Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Dan Wiederer in for Mully today. Time now to go out to our Score hotline, brought to you by Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, home of the world's largest sports book. And that is where we find the Bulls Executive Vice President of Operations, Arturas Karnisovas. Good morning, Arturas. How are you?
Good morning, and I'm sorry about any background noise. I'm at the airport.
That's okay. Thanks for joining us. We'll get right to it. Obviously, you spoke yesterday about your inactivity at the trade deadline. A lot of people were expecting more. From Charles Barkley to the biggest Bulls fan, there has been a level of frustration over your inactivity. So I wonder, Arturas, when you look at where your team is at the deadline, how do you justify this morning embracing the status quo for a team that has been so disappointing?
Well, I think we were active regardless if we made deals or not. I mean, but we just couldn't find any deals that were going to help us this season and going forward. So that said, we believe that this group, our current group, is going to give us the best chance, next 28 games. That, again, these 28 games is going to be evaluating this group, and the next step is to make adjustments during the draft and free agency.
Arturas, with your own disappointment with the mediocrity and the inconsistency that this team has shown, when you look at this finishing stretch, these 27 games that are left, what is your success target? What is the bullseye for this group down the stretch of the season? And how do you put a timeline on when you can have a team that can contend at a championship level again?
Yeah, so, I think last two games were illustration of, those frustrations that we going into the fourth quarter, we have leads, and then we end up losing games. So that's frustrating. And this group has to figure it out, how to win games. Now, right now, the goal is to be in the playoffs. The fact that we flipped the script on last year and we beating good teams and losing to below 500 teams, at least, we stand in games and we're very competitive. We lost a lot of close games, and that's where the frustration is, because that's what result is our position right now. We're in the 9th place, and that's not where we want to be. And moving forward, obviously, it's not acceptable.
So you were one of two teams that did not make a trade. And so when you look at how many buyers there were around the league, how much did you consider going into sell mode, in breaking up the big three, if you will, and essentially starting over with a new roster and a new core that would give you a different makeup and certainly a different outlook?
The history will tell you that a lot of trades at the trade deadline, don't help you the rest of the way. Probably it'll help you in during the draft and off season, because you have more time, to put the team together. I think 2 years ago when we made a trade and we traded 5 players, the result was the same. We missed out on the playoffs. So it's hard to make these kind of changes when you change players. They come to you, they still in shock, and you got 27 games left right now that you need some consistency. And this group has a chance now to put together a run and see what happens.
With the volume of activity that you described, being active in looking for opportunities to make a deal, is there anything that you learned in talking to other folks around the league about your roster, how it's viewed, and what you need to do to kind of capitalize on what you can maximize with this current group?
Yes. We've made a ton of calls. Obviously, we received a lot of calls. We had a lot of good players. And the thing is that, in this market, there were a lot of buyers, and not a lot of sellers. Every team still think that they are still in it. and that creates, the market that it's very hard to make deals. And we thought that the best opportunities for those deals are going to be during the draft and free agency.
Joined by Arturas Karnisovas here on the Mully Haugh Show on The Score. So the buyout market is something you addressed during your pregame press conference. I know you will be looking for possibilities and additions. I don't know if you can address some of the names that are out there or are about to be out there. There's going to be speculation about Russell Westbrook. But Arturas, I think that last night underscored how badly the Bulls need a three-point shooter. You look at the Nets and their ability to hit 12 three-pointer or 17 three-pointers, and you look at the Bulls last night had 5, and that has been happening too often this year. Will three-point shooting be a priority in the buyout market?
It's hard to say. I think the three-point rate, we do admit that, we're one of the last teams in the league. However, we capitalize, and we have a lot of good, good shooters. We just don't generate enough, But we, like I said, at the end of the third quarter, we were still in it, regardless of our three-point shooting. We were, 5 for 24, 5 for 25. So, yeah, shooting is one of the things we're going to look at.
You've stressed your focus on the present, which obviously includes this finishing stretch of 27 games that remain. But looking beyond this, what is your long-term view and the timeline that you see for making enough progress, enough headway to become a championship-level team again?
I think next 27 games we'll sort of stress exactly where we're going. So it's going to be seen. I don't know where we're going to be mid-April, and that's very interesting for me to find out. And once we have that result, we can make adjustments and we can establish our direction.
So, Arturas, when you're 26 and 29, and you have been largely disappointing, and even you acknowledged that yesterday, a lot of times it falls at the feet of the coach, and you wonder if the coach is getting through to the talent on the roster that you have put together. How would you evaluate the job Billy Donovan has done to this point of the season? And going back to the fall, we haven't talked to you a lot, but why was his contract extension kept such a secret? Usually that is something the team proudly announces.
Well, in terms of Billy's job, Billy and his staff did an unbelievable job this year. I'm there with them in the same building. We've tried, to engage this group and to improve this group. Again, results are not there, but there's so many close games that we lost this year, which is obviously reflecting our standings right now, and it's a disappointing thing. A couple of games go our way, we have 500. Is that where we want to be? No. The objective obviously is going to be, we've got to do better than that. So we'll look at everything and make sure that, by April we have, we have our thoughts put together. So.
Arturas, you've expressed confidence in the ability to lengthen the relationship with Vooch and to be able to come to an agreement to keep him here beyond this year, obviously. What do you value most about what Vooch brings to your team, and why do you feel confident that can that deal can be reached?
Well, Vooch is one of our most consistent guys, and he's always available. And that's huge value for us. It's been, since we acquired him from Orlando, it's been always available and, consistently producing, so we gotta find ways right now in terms of how we can win as a team, because I think we have good players, but now they have to put it together, and they have 27 games now left to obviously improve our standings.
When you came to Chicago, one of the biggest assets that you brought, and one of the things that was said about your past was that the player development was a priority. Arturas, you look at Patrick Williams, and he has been struggling with consistency. Last night was the latest example, not playing for the final 20 minutes. Dalen Terry, I thought, would have a more of a role on this team based on where he was drafted. At what point do you start to wonder about how players are being developed during your regime?
Well, we put a huge emphasis on development. Obviously, during the season, it's hard because it's a lot of games. There's no practices. The off season is, when players work on their individual improvements. But I thought that, Io and Patrick made improvements this year. But again, consistency is the key. And that's the quality of the player. You got to get to the point where you're consistent every game, and coaching staff knows exactly what they're getting from you.
What can these final 27 games tell you that you don't already know about this team?
I thought that this year the one improvement with this team is more resilient. There were a lot of games that we had no chance of being in it, and we kept fighting. So I think the resilience and staying in the games. Last year we were beating bad teams and we were getting blown out by good teams. So there's improvement in resiliency with this group. So next 27 games, regardless of what's going to happen, we're going to find out a lot.
We know you have a flight to catch. We appreciate your time. On the way out, last question. This is your first encounter in Chicago with maybe criticism, with maybe cynicism that is building up over years that when you weren't here. I just wonder, when you see some of the reactions to your inactivity, when you see some of the frustration from Bulls fans or people in the media, how does it affect you, and what is your reaction to it?
No, I feel for them because I'm as frustrated, to lose games as they are. And I think, I think when I came, I said it that, I expect to be criticized when we're losing, and obviously you're going to be praised when you're winning. So we've seen, last year improvements and reactions, and now it's not going so well. So I expect that kind of reaction. I'm frustrated during the games and watching the games just as our fans do. But I'll do everything possible to make adjustments and to improve this team.
Arturas, thank you so much for your time. Safe travels coming back. Look forward to talking again.
Thank you.